But we've got John Campbell, who is a Republican from California, and Tim Ryan, Democrat from Ohio. First of all, gentlemen, we just want to get this right out of the way. Everybody okay? Everybody safe? Representative Ryan, what happened with you during the shooting?
Everybody's fine. My office is fine. We went into lockdown. We were safe on the other side of the Capitol.
And Representative Campbell?
Yeah, actually, it's James Lankford from Oklahoma City, also a Republican, though John Campbell's a really good guy. But that's all right.
Okay.
We're the same way. We were safe. I was separated from the staff initially in the Capitol area. We were able to all connect, and everybody's doing fine.
My apologies, Representative Lankford. We have different information. Let's get to the issue at hand. Today, are there any breakthroughs in coming together to resolve this of raising the debt ceiling? Representative Campbell, I'll let you take that first. Lankford, I'm sorry. I'll let you take that first.
That's all right. Listen, I'll try to say it like John Campbell would say it and try to fill in for him. There's not been a major breakthrough on it. The debt ceiling, obviously, it's coming in the next couple of weeks. First things first is dealing with the budget crisis we're in right now with the government slowdown that we're currently in. We've got to resolve that. Hopefully we can resolve that sooner rather than later. If it keeps going on another week or so, we are running right into the debt ceiling negotiations, which, again, it's very different. As you have mentioned multiple times, it's very different than just this government slowdown. Once you get to a debt ceiling, you violate that, it really is shut down at that point.
Well, Representative Ryan, where do you stand on this? There are some Democrats who have started to feel that there are certain parts of the affordable health care law, such as the medical device tax, that indeed might be offering the president some wiggle room on making some type of concession. Do you agree with that?
I don't think so. I think we have an opportunity, if the Speaker of the House brought a bill to the House floor for what we're calling a clean CR, which means just extend the levels of funding over the next 6 weeks. If he brought that to the floor, it would pass with the majority of the members of the House of Representatives. It would be consistent with the Senate vote, and we would be out of this mess. I think having conversations about the Affordable Care Act or any other issue should happen during the traditional budget process. As I've said, I was against the war in Iraq. We didn't shut down the government. We went through the political process. We ended up winning the House back in 2006. We won in the Senate. We won the presidency in 2008, and we wound the war down. We didn't shut down the government. We went through the traditional political process, and that's how we should execute this over the next few days.
Representative Lankford, when Republicans who are for the stalemate here, or at least that's not a really fair characterization, they are for at least making sure they get some concessions on Obamacare, when they that under Ronald Reagan it was voted 17 times to raise that debt ceiling, do they not look at that and say, you know what, maybe cooler heads need to prevail, and we don't want it to get as bad? In fact, at the top of the hour, Secretary of the Treasury Jack Lew is going to articulate how bad he feels it's going to get if we hit that debt ceiling.
Sure, and I understand that full well. You're dealing with a different issue with the debt ceiling coming up in a couple weeks than we're currently in with the government shutdown right now. You mentioned Ronald Reagan as well. There were 8 government shutdowns during the time of Ronald Reagan when the Democrat Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, shut down the government because he disagreed with the Republican president over policy issues, many of them unrelated to budget. So this happened multiple times. This is not a new thing to go through government shutdown. It's never pleasant, never the best way to do it, but it happened 8 times during the Reagan administration, obviously happened most recently in the Clinton administration, happened during Herbert Walker Bush administration as well. So this has happened multiple times. We're aware of this. This is a sloppy way to do it, but we're trying to resolve some issues. The people in my district are trying to figure out they don't want to have a government shutdown, but they also don't want to have all the harmful effects of Obamacare implemented on them as well.
Okay.
And so
but how about a clean, Representative, how about a clean resolution and then move on from there with no Obamacare issues?
I've had a lot of my colleagues say, I tell you what, we'll take up these issues after we deal with the clean CR. The problem is we've done more than 40 times. We've done votes on changing aspects of the Affordable Care Act. We send that over to the Senate. It's never responded to. They never deal with it. So we're finally at a point saying after 3 years of bringing this up over and over again, we really do believe there's a problem and we want to have this addressed at some point. I hear a lot of my Democrat colleagues say we don't think everything's perfect. We do think there are problems. We finally say, okay, well, let's start to address some of those.
Well, listen, we just ran an election on a referendum on the Affordable Care Act. The president won. He won states like Ohio. He won in a mandate. We won more seats in the Senate. The American people have spoken about the Affordable Care Act. The Supreme Court deemed it constitutional. If my friends want to have this debate, they got Senate back. They've got to win the presidency back in 2016. You don't shut the government down. As I said, I was against the war in Iraq. We didn't shut the government down. We went to the American people, and I suggest that they go to the American people, make their case. It didn't work in the last election because Democrats won, and here we are. And I just don't think shutting down the government. Let's get a clean CR, have the Speaker bring it to the House floor, we'll vote on it, we'll move on, and then we can have these squabbles on TV and on the House floor about the Affordable Care Act.
Well, we're thrilled you're standing together and at least speaking. That's what really matters. I think most Americans want to see people.
That's actually what we want. The last thing we put out in the House was we put our negotiators, asked the Senate to bring their negotiators. Let's sit down and talk about it. We're still waiting for that opportunity to talk with the Senate, and let's get it resolved.
Well, we're fair and balanced here. We want to hear the story, so keep us posted. Representative Ryan and Representative Langford, we do appreciate your time, and they are both safe again. No more lockdown here after that shooting in Washington, D.C. Let's just sort of recap what happened.